Politico local news editor Kate Nagel. I'd like to welcome a familiar face. He's been here before, Rhode Island Commerce Secretary Stefan Pryor. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be with you, Kate. Thank you so much.
Have an additional hand here.
I do, yes.
Carrying the brick because you were clearly just at a construction site today.
We were. This was the topping off ceremony for the River House. The River House is the residential component of the new development in the 195 district. And it's not as often focused upon, understandably, because we're building this big, beautiful innovation complex that's the Wexford Innovation Center that is home to Cambridge Innovation Center and to Johnson & Johnson along with Brown. But this is the residential component. And because there's the new nursing complex for URI and RIC, and offices for Brown in the old South Street station. The exciting thing is that there's a residential building being built, 174 units of housing, ground up construction, beautiful, almost as big really as the Innovation Center in size, a couple 100,000 square feet on the Innovation Center, maybe it's 150,000 square feet on the residential. But what it'll bring is more feet on the street, listen to me, more feet on the street in the jewelry district. People are trying to invest in places that are live, work, play. They're trying to invest in places where instead of tumbleweeds in the streets, you have baby carriages in the streets, where it's a really livable neighborhood. Businesses want to be there. Businesses want to be in these kind of places. So we're excited that River House topped off, which means that it reached its pinnacle in its steel, and these developments are really happening. They really are getting built. So that's the prop.
How many bricks were given out today?
It must have been a couple hundred.
Just handed out. So the topping off today, what's the estimated time frame for completion?
It's almost exactly a year from now. It'll be open and ready to go. And there's retail at the base, by the way, and it's behind the old Dable Square complex, which is being renovated as well. If folks have been by and they've seen that the parking lot is closed off and there's that piano bar, that is what's going up there, and in about a year it'll be open.
Do we know what's going in for retail yet?
Not yet. Okay. I do think they are planning on a fitness center, a gym. I do believe I heard them reference that.
You could just lift the bricks.
That's right.
I want to stick on the 195 area, if you will, a little bit, move a little northward. Let's talk about the Fane Tower proposal.
Sure.
Came in and said wanted to invest hundreds of millions of his own money here in Rhode Island.
Yes.
And I mean, isn't that what Rhode Islanders always say? We want someone who's got their own pockets.
We do.
Coming in and wanting to set up shop. We've seen a lot of opposition from folks about the design. I mean, what's your thoughts about how the process has played out so far?
I think mostly what is supposed to happen is happening. So the project was originally brought to the 195 Commission, and the question was whether we would endorse the idea of a big new residential development in the 195 district on the water. The answer was yes, that there would be a version that we would accept. The idea of a new iconic tower in the skyline is a good idea. A growing city is a healthy city, and we embrace that idea. Still, there is the right of the municipality, the city of Providence, to weigh in regarding the height and the configuration, whether it makes sense in its relationship to the neighborhood and the rest of the city. That's what's supposed to happen, and that's what's happening.
Well, we'll see what happens moving forward, because we saw the City Plan Commission heard from some neighbors and concerned residents went forth without the support. It's interesting that it is back at the City Council. As you said, that the municipality does have oversight. It's funny that the 195 Commission was intended to, of course, be an independent body, but we'll see what happens now at the council level moving forward.
It's because it's such a tremendous variance. It is really a real outlier in its height. That's not a bad thing. That could be a very good thing, but there are owners who are concerned about the impact upon the residential market with this many units coming online at the same time. There are those who just think it's out of the kind of fashion or out of the kind of precedent in the neighborhood. These are legitimate points to be made.
Let's stick with tall buildings as we're here in the shadow of the Superman building. Virgin's Richard Branson was in town recently, told a crowd of about 80 to 90 folks looking at the Superman building that he could be interested in the potential for a hotel there. And we just saw a big announcement with Virgin merging with another company as well. Could there be some Richard Branson movement here? Definitely.
Well, let's talk about the merger first. The merger is, speaking of bricks, it's with Red Brick. These two companies are really among the predominant in the employee health space, meaning these are companies that provide for digital solutions for employers looking to improve health and wellness for their employees, and they're very compatible in the types of services that they offer. They're going to become the giant in the field, if they're not already, instantaneously from the merger Virgin Pulse and Red Brick. Very good news for Rhode Island because, as they've announced, the headquarters will be in Providence, will remain in Providence. You remember, Kate, that when Virgin Pulse bought our homegrown Shape Up, which was founded by Rajiv Kumar and others. Rajiv is a Brown grad who had this idea. It was a subset of the Virgin Pulse company once it was adopted into the company. We were all worried that it was going to leave town altogether. They were headquartered Virgin Pulse in Massachusetts. And instead, we brought them to Rhode Island, and Rhode Island prevailed, and now this merger. So it's extremely exciting, and that's part of Richard Branson's broader empire. It's exciting.
He's getting into hotels.
He
and
is.
It was interesting when he brought it up, and again, 80 or 90 people. It's hard to keep a secret in Rhode Island when something's told of that nature. He's got a lot online. Could a hotel work in that Superman space? And again, talking about private folks and private dollars.
I do think so. Richard Branson did seem genuine in expressing interest. It's the equivalent of a cocktail party conversation or a large group conversation. You don't know how to judge the seriousness of that, but we pursue all leads that could lead to investment in Rhode Island for employment for Rhode Islanders and all the other benefits. Actually, it makes an enormous amount of sense to, in the upper portion of the Superman building, convert to either residential or hotel or a combination. Not to say that Richard Branson has the right exact hotel or it's his appetite to do it. Stepping away from that, it makes enormous sense to build the commercial component at the base where there could be significant corporate end users. We are in discussions with them. The base of the building, as they say, the podium of the building is taken very seriously because the floor plates are about 20,000 square feet. That horizontally is very significant, and a lot of businesses are looking for that kind of format. And we're engaged in serious conversations about that. Up top, it could go commercial with more office use, but more likely, I would say, residential and hotel.
Again, a mixed use potential here as we're keeping an eye. You talk about having conversations with folks. Are you at the 50-yard line? Are you getting close to the red zone? I mean, give us a little intel
in
here.
this game, you honestly don't know where you are on the field. The reality is, we're in the game. There really are contestants for this space. We are in conversations where the enthusiasm is high because the building is gorgeous. To walk into that lobby, I know many people remember it from its banking days. It's gorgeous. You frankly couldn't build it like that again. People love to say it. It's true in this case. I'm a believer. I think that there's a potential use for this building that is a combination of these specific uses.
Let's talk a little bit about other opportunities in Rhode Island that Commerce has pursued. And let's talk a little bit about GE. There's some concern about the future of GE. What's your thoughts in terms of how Rhode Island has pursued this?
We're very fortunate in that we are home to a GE digital unit. And the indicators, albeit not official indicators, only the company knows how its different business units are performing and how its individual locations are performing. But the indicators are very good. We hear reports like they love the talent they've been able to find in Rhode Island. We hear indicators like the folks who are assembled here in Rhode Island in this digital space are excelling, are producing for the company. Okay. So, it's my hope that General Electric is here to stay. One of the earliest important companies in the United States, one of the first to be placed on the Dow and continuously operate. GE, we hope, will be around. If our unit performs well, our hope is that it remains a very healthy prospect and it continues to grow. I can tell you, for them, for Virgin Pulse, for others that have moved here recently, we're already starting to look for new space for them so that they can grow as they do expand.
And so what do you say to those, critics per se of Commerce that say, well, again, you always mention that the money always comes when the jobs are created, but then if the jobs leave, is that the risk that the state just ends up taking?
Well, you've stated it exactly right, Kate. You really don't undertake much risk at all because you only pay when the jobs exist and have been, in each individual case, paying taxes for a year. Then there's a repayment to the company of the taxes associated with that job. If the job disappears, you don't pay. So you can see how there's an automatic accountability mechanism, very different from the kinds of deals of the past, very different from deals in other places. And look, it's working. The most important thing is it's working, and these are very revenue positive transactions. You take all of our projects together, our newly attracted businesses, our existing businesses expanding, our real estate investments, and we're well over $250 million to the positive over the next 15 years. And it's not revenue that just instantly materializes in 15 years. Over the many years, we're going to see new revenue to the state as a result of these things being built.
And what do you have to say to those critics? Electric Boat, a federal contractor, and they said, well, why are we giving state dollars to a federal contractor that was going to build these ships in the first place?
Well, it's important to note a sizable portion, $14 million of the investment we're making, is to make Quonset ready for the expansion. This is the kind of wise investment that a place like Rhode Island makes. Quonset Business Park is an enormously successful location. It's not just Electric Boat. There are over 200 businesses that are succeeding at Quonset. What this investment of $14 million will do is it will dredge the water to make it a more effective and more accessible dock structure. It will improve the dock itself. It will make roadway improvements. In essence, we're building the platform for Electric Boat. Absolutely, that's the most important and near-term move. But for other businesses in the future, so that's the most important investment. The thing we're trying to do in investing in Electric Boat through this combination of investments is make sure they are the best positioned of any organization in the country, of any company, of any location, for the maximum number of jobs available. Because it's one thing to say they'll be building submarines. We hope that's true into the future, but it's another thing to say that they get the lion's share, that they get the maximum, that we really optimize what's going to be available in the way of jobs for Rhode Islanders. And these are fantastic jobs. These are well-paying, family-sustaining, benefits-carrying jobs for Rhode Islanders.
So one of the things when you mentioned, again, this structure for Quonset, if you will, to be of a facilitator to Electric Boat, sounds a lot about what folks might be talking about with the Paw Sox. We're now in May, and there's still conversations that apparently are taking place between the Speaker's office and the owners of the Pawtucket Red Sox. Have you been privy to any of this intelligence as to what's taking place now after you've seen what's come out of the Senate side, that the Speaker really put the brakes on and said, I want to hear from Rhode Islanders on it, and sounds like something could still be in play. And a lot of what Rhode Islanders talk about is, again, not millions for billionaires, but laying that just simply the infrastructure and groundwork.
What I'm hearing from the team from the Paw Sox and from legislative leadership is encouraging, because really what they're searching for is a yet better deal. They're looking for something that strengthens the arrangement that was on a draft basis, on a preliminary basis, made and introduced to the legislature, with which the Senate actually enhanced, did better for Rhode Islanders regarding. And then the Speaker, to his credit, he's trying to see if is there an even better way to do it that offers even less risk for Rhode Islanders and lets us keep this treasured team. You know, this is the AAA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. Many places would kill for it, and I say that it's not a hypothetical. We know that Worcester is actively engaging the team. They're putting a deal on the table. This is not a hypothetical, and we know that this arrangement, even as it stands, will return more dollars to Rhode Island than Rhode Island invests. We will lose money if the team leaves. Now, having said all of that, I understand the skepticism. I know that we've had some major blunders in our history. It's now becoming more distant history, but it exists. And we need to make sure that we do a good deal by Rhode Island taxpayers, that we do something that makes sense, that people can be proud of. The Speaker is right to search for the best possible deal.
And what do you have to say to folks who have concerns specifically about the attendance numbers? Go Local has reported on this. We do see what the numbers are at AAA. We do see where baseball is going in general. Is there a concern about this all hinging on attendance numbers?
I think no, and I think for this reason. Even if you use the most conservative figures, the revenues that are expected are so substantially more than the state's investment, because our share is the minority. There really isn't much to worry about. But look, again, if all involved can result in something even better, that would be terrific.
And do you think here, as we're entering the last week of May, that the public, again, looking at the Assembly, which is pretty much eyeing a quick exit in an election year, do you think that there's enough time?
I do think so. I think if the leaders of the legislature put their minds to it, if they work in concert, I think it is possible. And I think there's recognition that look, there may have been a record number of hearings for an individual item held in the Senate. It was a thorough process. There's been a very heavy vetting of this issue. The House needs to weigh in even more. They have had some hearings already. They have to weigh in even more. It would seem that it's not as if this is being rushed in terms of an issue for consideration, so it can get done in that sense. The question is whether everyone thinks that the solution is ripe, that it's really ready. But what's different right now is that there is Worcester, and frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if there are other aspirants for this team. It's a great get, so it really is time to make the decision.
Well, we'll see moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, I know there's a few things on Commerce's plate coming up. Anything you want to share with viewers?
Well, I'd love to share just a little bit about what's happened this week. In addition to the topping off for this residential development, we've started some new stuff. It's really exciting that Rhode Island is becoming a major hub for industry once again. We've already, thankfully, under Governor Raimondo, attracted a major coffee and tea R&D center and pilot plant, Finlay's Coffee and Tea at Quonset. We've already invested in Greystone Manufacturing. That's the long-standing Lincoln, Rhode Island-based auto parts manufacturer. Manufacturing is actually the biggest contributor to the growth of our economy. In 2017, it was the biggest GDP output contributor of all was manufacturing. Having said all that, there's a new arrangement, there's a new project, and that is that the Ahold organization, which is affiliated with Stop and Shop and with Hanford and with other supermarket chains, as a distribution arrangement in the entire region, they are actually moving to Rhode Island. They're creating 700, maybe even more jobs, hundreds of jobs. It's very revenue positive. They're building it here in Rhode Island. This was a competitive process throughout the big region, maybe beyond. The company was very determined to ensure that they found the right place where they can get the talent. And you know what? These jobs, these 700 plus jobs, they're accessible to Rhode Islanders of every walk of life, of every corner of the state. It doesn't require a higher ed degree, and the jobs carry benefits. We're very pleased that this is happening. And two other businesses were involved this week in making progress in Rhode Island. IX Blue, which is a navigation system company, a tech company in Massachusetts, decided, you know what, we're getting even more attention. We're finding the environment in Rhode Island even better, and they're moving to Rhode Island. And Ad Ventures, our own homegrown advertising company, very talented team at Ad Ventures, just doubled down on Rhode Island. They've got offices in Miami and other places, and they need to. They're succeeding, they're growing, but they decide, you know what, we want to grow right here in Rhode Island. All these things happened this week. It's so exciting. In the aggregate, if you look at, all the numbers are in now for 2017, so you can really look back at 2017. It's really encouraging. In 2017, in the entire Northeast, Rhode Island had the highest GDP growth in our larger region. We had the 11th highest growth of any state in the United States. Of the 50, we had the 11th highest GDP growth. Our economy is growing at a very, very healthy pace. As I mentioned, manufacturing is the biggest contributor. And get this, Kate, another very significant distinction. If you look at 2017, from January to December, the earnings growth, that is to say wages and other earnings experienced by Rhode Islanders, grew more than the earnings in any other state. We had the highest earnings growth in America. So it's not just these individual projects, manufacturers, residential and retail developments, new tech businesses, new conventional businesses, expanding existing businesses, mom and pop shops and other small businesses. It's the whole economy. It's doing so much better. And we're so encouraged to see it. Now, we're not resting on our laurels. We did so poorly in the Great Recession, first in, last out, or close. We've got to keep investing. We've got to stay energized. Under Governor Raimondo, we're sure to be. She's on it every single day, and we're so proud of the progress.
Last question. Of course, Rhode Island was not in the top of the short list for Amazon, but if Amazon were to go to Boston, besides perhaps higher housing prices here in Rhode Island, could Rhode Island see any benefits?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we're rooting for Boston. When Amazon looked at our proposal, they debriefed pretty extensively and said that they thought that there was a great deal of merit to what Rhode Island had to offer. They were worried that our scale would not be sufficient to sustain the 50,000 new employees they would bring and factors related to our size. But they were very complimentary, and they said, you're going to see Amazon Business, we're going to consider you in the future. Indeed, that has been true, Kate. We're actively engaged in conversations with them, and we're very pleased that that has come true. Nothing's done until it's done. There won't be a deal done overnight, but we're pleased that that's happened. All the better that this is true, that they're showing with their energy and with their time that they're interested in Rhode Island. If they go to Boston, of course we're going to try to be in play. We're going to dialogue with everyone involved, and we're going to see whether it makes sense to think of what they do as a region. First, they have to make that decision. A lot more conversation to come.
But again, a lot of eyes on Boston and Amazon. Well, I appreciate your taking the time to come here.
My
into the
pleasure,
studio.
Kate. Great to be with you.
Don't forget your brick.
We are building bricks for the future.
Commerce Secretary Stefan Pryor, thank you for your time today.
Great to see you, Kate.
I'll
Thank
let
you so
go
much.
around the corner.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Here we go.
Okay, Rhode Island Commerce Secretary Stefan Pryor going through a laundry list of issues and developments with the Commerce Corporation. Appreciate his taking the time to come in. Appreciate all my guests coming in today. Karen Dalton with the Dare to Dream Ranch. There's going to be a pig roast on Saturday there to benefit veterans, a number of veterans organizations, but there is a walk taking place this weekend from Connecticut to Rhode Island, the Long Walk 22, again, because on average, 22 veterans commit suicide every day. I'll provide more links for that on Go Local. And then also wanted to talk about opposition to the drug homicide bill. Mike Gallipo with the Rhode Island Users Union came in to give us his perspective on why he does not think this is a good idea. So I appreciate all of my guests coming today here into the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Wednesday. We've got a great couple shows for you. It's National Wine Week, and we have Rick Simone in talking, of course, about wine. I've got a great lineup for you at the 4 o'clock hour as well. But of course, be sure to read GoLocalProv.com and keep watching us on Facebook. We look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel.